Welcome to Asian Tinder Stories. Two guys going on Tinder dates and talking about them. In this episode, I talked to my friend Kevin about his latest Tinder date, and it's not what you would expect. There's even a moment where he's fearing for his life. Stay tuned.
I found that these girls I've been seeing, maybe it's Vancouver, but I'm being less like a fuckboy and actually making a connection with these girls.
Yeah, treat them like human beings.
Yeah, I'm starting to treat girls like human beings. It's a pivotal moment in my life.
This is Kevin. He's Asian, in his mid-20s, and is from Canada. He was also my roommate in Vegas. And yes, he was a bit of a fuckboy. When he returned home to Vancouver, he settled down and focused more on his career as a salesman. Although he leads a busy life, he still goes on a lot of Tinder dates in his spare time. In this episode, I talked to Kevin about his latest date. First, I asked him what she was like, and I didn't really get the response I was expecting.
She's actually not too bad. She's very negative.
Yep, you heard that right. He said that he likes her because she's negative. But let him explain.
She has a cold outlook on life.
Like pessimistic or cynical?
Cynical. That's a word.
Yeah.
But she's honest about it, though, at least, She's pretty smart, actually. She's got an English, she's in English, going to school for English.
Yeah.
Pretty smart girl, which I do like. I really like smart girls.
Yeah.
Opposed to dumb ones.
So far from my conversation with Kevin, I found out that he likes girls who are negative and smart, as opposed to dumb. Next, we briefly cover what sorts of messages Kevin typically sends to start a conversation on Tinder and eventually set up the date.
Right. So anyway, on Tinder, what I've been doing lately is just fucking making it simple. I've tried so many different ways of messaging girls, from I like your face to I've always done just very simple messages at first, just to get them to respond, and then trying out I think the first and second message is very important, just to get their attention going.
So you usually say "Hey, rock star" or something like that.
Yeah, that works out pretty fine. It's good enough, just good enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the least amount of work possible when it comes to Tinder.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking spend my whole day doing this shit,
Yeah. Then you go into the gym every time.
Yeah, I literally go to the gym every fucking hour.
So to briefly catch you up to speed, the first message Kevin typically sends is "Hey, rockstar." Then following her response, he sends, "Lol, just got home from the House of Pain, aka the gym." Next line, HBU, ? And in order to maximize his efficiency, also known as his laziness, Kevin has hotkeys for each of these messages. That way, his fingers only need to hit a total of 8 keys to get to the midpoint of the conversation. But the other reason he does this is because most Tinder conversations are often predictable. And you just need enough wit and intrigue to set up a date. Thus, Kevin has essentially created a funnel for his dating life.
Holy shit.
Just got home from the House of Pain.
The House of Pain, as they all laugh at. LOL.
They're so predictable.
That's a key there, man. You want to make your messages so predictable and so good. Not so predictable and so good, but so you want to have
consistency.
You want to have the right consistency so that you can lead the conversation going through a path that you want them to go to.
Now, when it comes to actually setting up the date, following the initial banter, Kevin usually sends the message, "Cutting to the chase, ... let's go for a dessert/drinks later in the week." The phrase "cutting to the chase" naturally transitions the conversation towards setting up plans for the date.
I've been using that message, just cutting to the chase, just because 3 messages it is short, and they'll usually when I ask them oh, how's the week look, or let's go on a date, sometimes they'll usually say something sometimes. I've had a good enough amount. Sometimes when get a certain objection enough times, you're like, what should I change here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they kept saying, like, I feel like I barely even know you. Like, tell me more about yourself. And, like, I never want to, like, that's a conversation I never want to go into. Like, I never want to tell them my life story just because I'm, like, pure lazy. And also, like, I don't want to qualify myself.
Yeah.
So I just bring up the objection first, saying, like, let's cut to the chase here. What are you doing this week? And, like, they know, like, in their mind, they know that I know as well.
Right.
You know, like, it shows I have, like, social intelligence enough to do. It's like a subtle thing, but it makes a huge difference, like, as you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that phrase definitely makes sense, because sometimes I just try to set up plans right away, but I don't really segue it, and it's kind of abrupt, even though the conversation might be going well, and then they don't really respond back.
That helps. Like, when you actually have a good segue, like what Luke says, by the way, says too, is like, oh shit, like, I have that, let's actually go.
Yeah.
You know, timing is everything. Timing is important.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes if you don't have timing, you just fucking just say, cutting to the chase. Like, just straight up.
You create your own timing.
Exactly.
Then when it comes to scheduling the date, Kevin says, I can meet anytime as long as it's a Monday. Once again, Kevin strikes with his casual and unassuming sarcasm, which allows him to be simultaneously assertive and charming. But then I was curious, why Monday? You always set up dates for Monday? Is that like a purposeful thing, or was it just this specific Monday that you were setting up like 5 dates for Monday?
It wasn't specific. It's just that, like, fuck, Tinder dates and dates and shit, they just take so much of my time. Like, I don't have that time. So I just do Mondays. And it also gives you, I think it's, like, mindset-wise as well. Mm-hmm. When you have a schedule, you become less needy for them, too. If I say, like, Monday, then, like, they'll say no, then I'll be like, how about the next day? The next day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to keep chasing them around. It comes off as needy to them. Yeah. Which will make them want to go on a date with you, of course, and also just, like, I think your overall self-esteem, you got to have boundaries, too. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't know, you got to be somewhat flexible, too.
Did the Calendly thing ever work?
No, actually, that was a terrible idea.
So because Kevin was setting up so many dates, he thought of an ingenious idea. He would use the business scheduling website, Calendly.com, to manage his dates. So he could send girls on Tinder a link to schedule themselves into Kevin's schedule on Calendly.com. But although the idea was initially promising, it didn't really go the way he had hoped. I think I told a couple people that you were doing that, and they're like, oh, I'm going to try that. But I don't know.
In theory, it sounds fucking amazing. But I don't know. My click-through rates are just terrible.
You need a better lead magnet. Send them an audio.
I think I gotta bring it up better rather than just making it sound too businessy. I'll be like, you know, like, how about just take a look at my calendar here. I know it sounds like really whack, but, like, it's just super convenient. Just take a look.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, hey, here's my calendar, click here.
Or you could send them, like, a free PDF or something.
Free secrets.
Yeah. Okay, so now that you know how Kevin sets up the date, here's what actually happened on the date with the negative smart girl that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode.
Date on Friday or Monday, and then knowing that there's going to be a Christmas party. I already knew that kind of in the back end, right? Okay. And so we meet up at the bookstore, and so this is what I say all the time. Actually, I see her, and I'm like, "Oh, long time no see!" Like, hug. I say that all the time. It's like, "Oh, long time no see."
That's what Jeff says too.
And, like,
right?
That gets a laugh, right? And, like, it's like a little bit awkward, but like at least I confront the awkwardness in a little bit, in a way. And so that we laugh it off, and then we end up talking like, "Oh, so how was your day?" Like, I knew that she was talking about something earlier, like work, and I was like, "Oh, you look exhausted," which is a terrible thing to say. Like, you never want to say, like, a negative thing, like, you look exhausted. But anyways, like, it was like a day in a first time in a long time, just because, like, I've been so fucking busy. So I think it takes like 2 weeks of, like, not going on a date. Like, I've been smashing other girls, but, like, not going on, like, real, like, first dates in a while. So then, like, that's why I felt a little bit off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, like, we end up talking in the bookstore, and then we were going to go for food, but I didn't want to go for food because I knew that if we were going to go for food, like, we'd sit down and chill. Like, I wanted to, like, move it somewhere, right? Like, something more exciting. So then I knew that my friend had a party. So then I'm just like, you know what? Here's the thing. My friend, he's having a Christmas party right now. Let's go check that out for a little bit. We have, there's probably some food there as well. So let's just eat that. Go there, eat some food, check it out for a little bit. I got to get a bottle of wine.
That's way better than going to a restaurant.
Yeah, fuck a restaurant, dude. Like, you don't want to fucking sit down.
Yeah.
And have, like, a fucking interview, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's going to feel like an interview if you go on the first date to dinner. Like, oh, so, like, what do you do? How you doing? Well, how was your day? Like, do you like this? Do you like this? Like, are you watching a good movie?
And this point of sitting down during a date reminded me of a recent date that turned into an atrocity. So here I tell Kevin about my date from hell at the cafe. It was like I think a month ago. I don't know if I told you this, but it was probably probably the worst day I've ever had. Where it wasn't a restaurant, but it was at a cafe, and the cafe is actually pretty nice. There's a bunch of couches and stuff, and we were both sitting on a couch, and I could tell she was pretty nervous. So then I was like, "Oh, we can play a game. They have board games here." And I go to the board games. All they have is like 8 different boards of chess. So I'm playing her in chess, but so I was thinking like she's pretty smart because she has an electrical engineering major. I'm just like fucking destroying her in chess. I'm just like wrecking her. Like she has like no hope of winning, and she's self-loathing the whole. She's like cursing herself out, like swearing under her breath.
You made her bad.
She was just like angry at herself.
Like, this is how you would have done it right though. If you did that same exact thing, but like take it up like 100 times, be like, you fucking suck. Make it funny though, you know? Just like jokingly, but like for real, be like a fucking asshole. Get her laugh a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I should have done that. Just throwing pieces in her face as I'm capturing them.
Sit down on like the first date and just talk. Like,
play chess.
Fucking like you want to be a little bit active, I think. Somewhere where you can be mobile.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So now we pick up where Kevin and his date have left the party and they're going to the wine store to pick up some wine.
So we go to the wine store. We pick up some wine. No, like we get into my car, right? It's my minivan, like the shitty minivan, right? And then like I want to preface it too. I was just like, oh yeah, you get to go see the cool bus. So I take it to the cool bus.
That sounds like a bus for special ed kids to make them feel better about themselves. We're going to the cool bus.
You're the cool kid. You're the cool kid. It's not a hanging dart. It's a cool bus. So we go to the thing, and there's a lot of people there, and it was kind of like awkward. Like, holy shit, I had never seen so many people in one place under a roof in a long time, bro. So it was like a lawyer party, but there were a lot of cute girls there too. And she ended up knowing more people there than I did, and it was like my friend's party.
That's crazy.
And so we go to the house party, and she's talking to her girlfriends or whatever. Then like I hop in, I'm talking a little bit. I get some food, walk around, like talk to some more people, and then we're chilling there for probably an hour or so. I drink like a cup of wine. She drinks a cup of wine too, and then I know she's still hungry because she ate only a little bit. So we go out, we get some food, and then as we're eating, I'm just like, we walk to the car, and then we get to the car. In my car, I'm just like, you want to just come, let's just, what did I say? I first said something like, before the day, like during, when we were going through the day, I was like, have you ever heard of Last Night's Party? Have you heard of Last Night's Party?
No.
Really? Okay, so it's the Weeknd cameraman, and the cameraman, dude, like, he films fucking hottest girls ever, bro. Like, just real life girls. He's video recording them, like with a nice camera, of course.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole story. It's not even like pornographic or like overly sexual, but it is sexual too.
Mm-hmm.
So then I tell her about that, right? Like, she's like, oh, it's cool. So then we have more reasons to go to my place.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get into the car. I'm just like, oh, yeah, we're talking about more videos. I'm like, oh, yeah, you want to just chill at my place for a little bit, and then I'll drive you home.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, yeah.
But then on the way home, the unexpected happened. Kevin and his date had their lives flash before their eyes.
So we get there. We're driving towards my place.
Mm-hmm.
Driving towards downtown. I hit a green light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm talking to her. I drive in the green light. And then she, like, her face
mm-hmm.
just turns, like, light night to day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, 0 to 100. Like, I see her face. She's like, oh. I turn to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I see an oncoming car, like, 1 second, but it was the longest 1 second ever. And I had no control. Like, I see it happening. And then I'm like, oh, shit. Like, bam. Hits my side.
That's crazy.
And then I get, like, blown back.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets blown back. I'm like, what the fuck? And
mm-hmm.
so, like, we're in the car. I'm just like, what happened? And she's like, you didn't see the car? And I was like, what? Like, it was a green light. It was a green light.
Yeah.
And so I get out of my car. I see him crashed with, like, the airbag and shit. I'm just, like, knocking on his window. Like, he gets out. He's like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Gets out. And I'm like, yo, are you drunk?
Yeah.
That was, like, first thing I said to him. I was like, yo, are you drunk? Like, I knew it was his fault as well. And, like, that's how you... I was like, yo, are you drunk?
Yeah.
And so that was a whole scene. And I'm like, fuck. This guy just cock-blocked me. This guy just fucking cock-blocked me.
Oh, shit.
How petty is it that was my first love?
So fortunately, Kevin and his date are okay. So let's listen in to how the rest of the day goes.
And so he hits me, and then police are already there. We're there for maybe an hour. And then as, like, this whole traumatic event is happening,
mm-hmm.
I look at her, I'm just like, are you okay? Obviously, I'm like, are you okay? Are you fine? Like, man, like, as crazy as this is, I'm really glad that you're taking care of this pretty well. So I said that, and it was cool. And then my brother picks me up. And then everything there happened. My brother picks me up, me and her. We take a look at the car. We get back. And then my brother drops us off at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, like, sitting on the chair. I'm like, I just really need to relax for a little bit. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I get my sweatpants and shit. We end up talking. Like, I sit on my bed here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sitting on this chair. I'm there. And I think I turn off the light a little bit. I'm just like, oh, I gotta show you. Let me show you some videos. Yeah. I was just like, oh, let me show you the last night's party. Mm-hmm. And so I tap on the bed like that, and then like she comes to the bed, and then I turn off the light.
Come here, girl. Like you tap it on the bed.
I was like, come here, girl. But then, yeah, we watched the video, and then like, boom, it was like pretty natural.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty adventure. Sometimes, you know what? Like you think the things that you do are mundane. Mm-hmm. But then there's always a story to it.
So from going from a Christmas party to a car crash to back home, Kevin had a pretty wild adventure from Tinder. Now both Kevin and I use Tinder pretty extensively, so you can expect more wild and crazy stories to come. But for the time being, thanks for listening to the first episode. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to sharing more stories with you in the future.